Hi, and welcome to THORsday Comics. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Star and the Solar Legion. All three of these books are available by following the links in the show notes below. And so it starts with a reprint of the previous issue, and now we get the main story from Journey into Mystery number 124, The Grandeur and the Glory. Great opening splash of a superhero reading the newspaper, kind of a fun little gimmick. Story by Stan the Man Lee, penciling by Jack King Kirby, delineation by Vince the Prince Coletta, lettering by Artie Sugarlips Simic. So this is at least the first appearance in Thor of Stan the Man Lee and Jack King Kirby, those monikers which would stick. And as always, Jack Kirby's not just the penciler, he's also the co-writer. Thor is reading about the unknown demon unleashes plundering jungle hordes. And everybody circles around him, asking him about this news that's going on. And this little girl says, "Oh, Thor, you've been to Vietnam, and my father's in Vietnam." Thor says some nice things about her father and then gets ready to depart. A little moment of pathos. And so there's like sort of the overt mentioning of the Vietnam War. The subtext of this story, Thor reading about trouble overseas and it sort of occupying everybody's thoughts and curiosity. The main plot of the story resonates with the reality of, the Vietnam War being part of the popular consciousness at this time. The way it's presented in this comic, the Marvel comics have not thrown in with the counterculture, the youth culture, yet. When they're talking about Vietnam, the Vietnam War, they're kind of talking about it. Thor and this little girl, they're talking about it the same way they would talk about, World War II or the Korean War. Next time you write to your daddy, tell him that Thor wishes him well as he fights to hold aloft the lamp of liberty. We're not at a stage yet where you're seeing Marvel comics where the characters are sort of, critical of the Vietnam War or protesting the Vietnam War. So Thor says, stand clear, I'm about to take flight. And then this police officer says, let's see your license to give a public demonstration in the street. So we get some of that comedy. Thor realizes, I'll take off from the roof. And there is a lot of sort of humor and little subplots going on within the dialogue. I've seen characters parading around town shaved like Mr. Clean and teenagers who look like the Beatles, but that guy takes the cake. Commenting on the youth culture, but maybe not quite on the same side as it. Thor's hair, it's going to be a few years before even the Beatles' hair grows as long as Thor's is here. So yeah, he's pretty much ahead of the game. So he swings his hammer, takes off. Really nice splash here. Although something about the perspective, it looks less like Thor has like a forward momentum and more like he's getting sort of like sucked backwards. And it doesn't seem like he's very high in the air. It seems like he's kind of low to the ground. I'd like to see Kirby's pencils of this to see if it's got that same quality or if it's the result of the inking, as Vince often takes liberties with Kirby's stuff and sometimes undercutting the impact and power of it. So we got the continuing soap opera of Thor and Jane Foster. He goes to visit her. She was suffering from smoke inhalation from the previous issues. And now we cut to the story of the demon, sort of leading his hordes. And this demon is powered only by the power of the magical Norn Stone, which Thor had lost. Did the once humble witch doctor become the awesome demon, Stan? None can stop the demon. And looking at the demon, I do wonder, Gene Simmons is a huge Marvel Comics fan and a huge Jack Kirby fan and Stan Lee fan. And he has cited Black Bolt as one of the influences on his, stage persona, his costume, the sort of like wings that Black Bolt has. But I also wonder, Gene Simmons' Kiss character is called the Demon. And this, I'm getting some Gene Simmons vibes here from the hair and then the makeup around the eyes and the sneer. If this guy stuck out his tongue, like that would kind of complete the picture. But I do wonder if Gene Simmons is reading Fantastic Four and pulling elements from Black Bolt, he's got to be reading Thor also and maybe, maybe this is the missing piece. Maybe this is the origin of Gene Simmons from Kiss's demon character. Really fun sequence as they're dropping a giant rock on the demon, and he punches it right through that door. Just fun Kirby stuff, and he's amassing this horde that's going to get larger and larger and grow as it marches along. And we're kind of seeing maybe the first iteration of Jack Kirby's novel, The Horde, which, has a similar plot line. So maybe he was working on his novel, The Horde, before this and decided to bring some of those elements into this comic, or maybe, this is sort of his first inkling of that larger story, his unpublished novel, The Horde. Some scenes of Don Blake and Jane Foster in the hospital. She's, very upset, and Don Blake has his medical diagnosis. Then this is what was wrong. She's suffering a fit of depression, and I'm the cause of it. You've told me you love me, but I know you're keeping some terrible secret from me, some secret you've never allowed me to share. It's true, my darling, but it has never affected my love for you. How can I believe that when you desert me for days, weeks at a time? I never know where you are, what you're doing. I only know you're gone. I want to share my secret with you so desperately, my beloved. I want to marry you, make you mine, but Odin, my father, forbids it. Get out, do you hear me? I can't go on this way. I never want to see you again. You don't love me, you never love me. She's on the verge of hysteria. She's losing her will to live. I must convince her somehow. Don't cry, dearest. You're too weak. Jane, listen, you must believe me. No, I'll listen to no more lies. Nothing matters anymore. I just want to be left alone. I want you to go, to leave me forever. Her heart is breaking, and I'm the cause of it. I can't bear to see her like this. I can't. Jane, my darling, I'll prove my love. Look at me, Jane Foster. I command you to look. Forgive me, my father. This is the only way. Know you, now and forever, that I am Thor, son of Odin, god of thunder. 'Tis an immortal of Asgard whom you love, Jane Foster, and who truly loves you as well. So, really cool. We saw a similar scene in a previous issue, and then they walked it back. Jane got a mind wipe or whatever, I forget. But here it's kind of drawn out a little more, told in like a very cool panel by panel, very dramatic fashion, great sort of, shadowy figure here. And yeah, he reveals his secret to her. But this time it feels like you're not going to be able to walk this back. And ultimately they don't walk it back. This is a permanent change to the status quo of this comic, a permanent step forward that Thor is revealing his secret identity to Jane. Thor, Don Blake, both the same man, and yet in my heart I somehow suspected. Thor's confessed, and there's nothing getting in their way except Odin, because Odin forbids this whole thing, and he happens to be watching at this time. My son hath betrayed his heritage by the golden gates of Asgard, to think that I should ever witness so sordid a sight. My own son, heir to the proudest throne in all the universe, hath divulged his immortal identity to a female of earth. 'Tis a wonder the heavens themselves do not quiver and quake in celestial indignation. Though I be Odin, the all-powerful, still have I a father's heart, and verily it longs to burst with parental rage. Though Thor be blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh, though he be favored over all who live, he hath broken my law. My choice is clear, there must be a reckoning. Don Blake is helping one of his patients and talking about the demon. It's the talk of the town. They're listening to the news on the radio, and this demon guy's just getting out of control. And it's weighing heavily on Don Blake. And I feel like this is kind of like, the Vietnam War in the news, probably weighing heavily on Jack Kirby and just on the public consciousness. And he's having these nightmares, maybe even, the Jack who suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. Maybe, the news reports and things are sort of bringing about some post-traumatic stress for Jack himself, and this is sort of like a comic book expression of that, a way of working through issues that you have through your artwork. But he's torn because he promised Jane Foster that he'll never leave her again, but His conscience is telling him that he's got to do something about the demon, and so he resolves to do it. This sort of upshot of him lifting and bringing down the staff and his walking stick, and then flying out the window, zipping past a jet, breaking the sound barrier, and at the same time, one of these sort of Alan Moore Watchmen kind of sequences as Thor is cracking the sound barrier. That sound is reverberating all the way in Mount Olympus. And we see Zeus, who we haven't seen since the Thor annual. The time has come. We must turn our attention earthward to the planet of mortals. Zeus has spoken. And this guy looking a lot like Kirby's High Father with the beard and the shepherd's crook. Kind of like combine these two characters and you get High Father. So we get a vision of the parallel Asgard, which is Olympus. It's just beautiful, and it's in sort of like full Kirby mode with like big panels, big drawings, big action, great design, as Hercules has a friendly spar with Atlas, who is sort of, if Zeus is the Odin equivalent and Hercules is the Thor equivalent, Atlas is the Balder equivalent. And Zeus sends Hercules on a mission as an emissary to Earth, and he shows him a vision of Earth. And check this guy out, this super cool centaur watching everything. Like, wouldn't you love like a Jack Kirby comic for like every mythology? So like just a dedicated Jack Kirby Hercules comic, and like a dedicated Jack Kirby Egyptian mythology comic, just like all the way down the line. Hercules makes his way down to Earth from Mount Olympus, and the war of the demon continues. I mean, look, it's totally Gene Simmons. Fling open your gates, throw down your arms, the demon commands. But from within the besieged fortress comes a dramatic, unexpected answer. Surrender to a tyrant? Never. So like nice reveal. Thor's sitting inside that fortress and like slams the door right back at the demon. And now God versus demon. Thor spots that Nornstone and it is on. And look at this. They clash. Next, the coming of Hercules. Thus begins the titanic battle between Thunder God and Demon, with the fate of a world in the balance. Next, the coming of Hercules. So yeah, we're really setting up to like a great battle. The Demon is also almost kind of like a proto-Ulick the Troll and a proto-Kalibak. Definitely, like one of Kirby's archetypes. And it's interesting how his appearance changes from this issue to the next issue, because here with like sort of the red hair, he doesn't look so much like Gene Simmons anymore, but definitely here. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Star and the Solar Legion. All three of those books are available by following the order links in the show notes below. I'll see you next THORsday.